Hello, I see you there. Is it Pedro? Is that right? Good to see you there in the chat bar. Hang tight. We'll get started in just a few minutes here.
Good morning.
No, you're right. It's great to be early. Early is on time sometimes. So really great. But we are going to get started in about 4 or 5 minutes. So just hang tight. Me too. Thanks for being here. Hello, Michael. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your comment there. Yeah, hang tight. We're going to get started in about 3 minutes or so. I appreciate that. While we're waiting here, and I see a few folks are coming in with the chat bar. Where are you coming in from? I'm just curious. Just let us know where you're coming in from in the world. Drop that in the chat there. We're going to be talking about time management. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Awesome. Lovely. Thank you so much, Singapore. It's one of my favorite cities in the world.
Me too, actually.
Yeah. And hello, India. Top of the world, Nepal. Hello. I'm so excited to talk to the top of the world. I feel so excited about that. And we have Dallas, Texas. Welcome. And hello, India, Malawi. Lovely.
Philippines.
We have the Philippines. Beautiful. Indonesia. I was just in Indonesia, just not several weeks ago. Lovely to be on that part of the world. Senegal, lovely. Watching from India, fantastic.
Thank you for joining, everyone. We'll get started in about 2-3 minutes.
So you're asking where we're from. So I'm coming in from Los Angeles, California, United States this morning.
And I'm in San Diego, California.
It's a good question. We'll get into that. Do we need to manage time? Can we even manage time? Saying Andhra Pradesh. Good morning.
Give another minute or so, just being at the last few people joining in at 8:30 Pacific time. And then I'll get started with my little intro, and then we can get started with Christian's class this morning.
Hello in Channel Islands. The weather is fairly nice here. The early summers are quite temperate. It's very true. It's going to heat up very soon, but Southern California is always has very enviable weather.
Well, great. Looks like it's 8:30 Pacific time, so I'll get us started with our little intro. My name's Saskia Webb from Learn It. I'll just be a little overview of today's class and what Offsite is and what Learn It is, and then we'll get started. So today, Christian will be leading time management, strategize your day. We do these offsite hour-long free events every other Friday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific time. Typically centered around a monthly theme. This month's theme is productivity, tools and frameworks. And these are often based on our full-length workshops from Learn It. So this one is based on a full-length 2-hour workshop led by subject matter experts like our great instructor, Christian. And then we also have Ask the Expert events every other Wednesday, which are more interactive. I believe you'll be hosting it next week, correct, Christian?
That is correct. Yeah. So I will see you next Wednesday if you choose to come back, which I hope you do.
So yeah, just to give a little intro to Christian, he's a professional development trainer, accomplished playwright and screenwriter, and runs a nonprofit arts organization in Los Angeles, California. He really values bringing a lot of creativity into the lives of working professionals and bringing more professionalism into the lives of creatives. Has a background as a crisis counselor and values clear, empathetic communication as the basis for building powerful relationships at home and at work. Christian's been very accomplished in, screenwriting and playwriting, executive produced and written shows for Netflix, films for Sony, and plays for theaters across the nation, managed teams internationally and remotely, creates engaging environments where students, colleagues, and other professionals access their potential and discover their joy in their work. So I'll let you take it away, Christian. I'll take off my slides and you can go ahead and get started.
Let's do it. Thank you so much, Saskia. Thank you everyone for being here. If you're in the stream and you're ready to get going, just give a little "let's go" in there so I know that you're here, you're with me. And I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here. And we're going to be on the slides for a little bit of time, but I do want to keep this as interactive as possible. Our main mode of interaction is going to be in that chat bar. So if you are ready to go, and if you can see my screen with a slide that says time management, strategize your day, say let's go. Thank you so much, Audrey. I appreciate that. Hello, watching from Nigeria. Lovely. Let's go. I see it. So good. And I saw a question come right in at the beginning. How do you manage study time along with having a full-time tiring job? You're taking on a huge load there. And this is a question that I saw come in before we even started today, which was, can you even manage time? And it's a really good question because I'm not sure time can exactly be managed, even though we have a course here called Time Management. And we have hundreds of books out there, many of which I've read about time management. Time is this ethereal thing that keeps moving. Sometimes we blink our eyes and time goes quickly. Sometimes it really feels like something is taking forever. So there really is a relativity, which means that we have a relationship to time. And so just like our relationships in our lives, our spouses, our partners, our friends, our family, we have to nurture this relationship. What is this relationship that we have? How do we decide what to do and what to not do? And here's one of the main kernels, and I'll just begin here, is that sometimes with time management, we have to decide what we are absolutely not going to do. Our lives are limited. We don't have forever. We don't have forever with our time. We can always make more money, but we cannot make more time. You've heard this before, right? That time is a very precious and a very limited resource. And so with that limited time, we have to limit what we choose to actually do. We cannot do it all. Right. If you are, for instance, last just a month or so ago, I got married. I chose a partner, and that partner chose me. There's a lot of selections that we could have had, but this is the one person I chose. So by choosing one person, I've eliminated the choice of many others. And she did the same for me. And the same goes with our choices of what to do, where to spend our time. And as we make a selection of what we are actually going to choose to do, we're actually making a selection of elimination. I'm choosing to not do more things so I can focus on this one thing. And as we do that, that's where we create the story of our lives, the story of who I am, the story of my career, the story of my day. Hello from Afghanistan. Hello from Portugal. I know we have Nepal, top of the world here. I know we have Indonesia. I know we have people from all over. So I'm so glad to see you here. If you do want to let us know where you're coming in from, make sure you just drop that into the chat bar there. I also want to just share this quote. You're hopefully seeing it on your screen right now from Benjamin Franklin, that lost time is never found again. In the chat bar, I'm just curious to know, what are some responses you have to Ben Franklin's thesis here, that lost time is never found again? What does this mean to you? What does this mean when lost time is actually never found again? Well, what does that mean to you? And thank you there. I see that when we eliminate something, when we select something, we're actually eliminating something else. It means making a choice to focus on something else. Great. Thank you so much. Let's go from Nigeria. Anyone want to just comment there in the chat bar? What does this mean? That lost time is never found again? What does that mean to you? Any thoughts here? Is it more of that time is a limited resource? Let's get a couple responses here on this one. Lost time, never found again. Thinking about this, we can always make a little bit more money, but we cannot make more time. Once the day is gone, you cannot get that day back, right? You cannot get this 1 hour back. And as we just think about, we talk about this relationship with time, just like our relationships with our family members or the relationships with our partners or spouses. That, yes, thank you so much there. I see that time cannot be undone. As we think about this relationship, I want you to think about it as something that's very, 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 very precious. It's so, so precious. Once we have it, it never comes back. The great line from King Lear, that will come again, never, 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 never. And once something goes away, it's gone. So our relationship to time must be taken with that amount of critical thought, that amount of care. So in so doing, we have to actually say no to many, many things. No opportunities to slot in the future, right? The time does not come again. Really good. So these are some really great thoughts here. So as we think about how we are going to build our relationship to time, I want us to really tune into our time awareness. How can we become more aware of where our time is actually going? This is the first step to becoming clear about how we make a choice about our time. Where is our time actually going? And so I want us to give some thought to how we can improve this. And I have a few that I want to show you today. By the way, this is going to be a part, what I'm showing you today is a small section of a much larger course that we offer. There's 2 different modules to it. One is on specifically avoiding distractions. What we're talking about here are just some strategies, ways of, and specifically about this part of the strategies, just building our awareness. So this is the first piece of a larger course that I hope you can join us in at another time. So it's a limited resource. We agree. We saw that time is a one-time asset. A really great way of thinking about that. Opportunities that will not come back. So I want us to just begin with a little bit of an assignment. I'm not going to give you much time to do it. It's going to be short, brief. Many of you, actually in the chat bar, let me ask this. How many of you create to-do lists? Is this something you do a lot of? Is it you have done it in the past? I know this is a tool that you're familiar with. I know it is. But how many of you currently work off to-do lists? Do you do it? Do you not do it? Do you not do it enough? Do you do it, but it doesn't work? Do you do it and it's a lifesaver? Just any responses to creating a to-do list for yourself. You love your to-dos. Great. So it feels good to check them off, right? What else? Anyone else have a response to this? Do you create to-dos? You have started to create a list. It works great for you. Good. Any other responses here? Do you use to-do lists? Not enough, says C. Cox. Great. So maybe you could do a little bit more. Here's the great thing about creating these to-do lists. Why they can feel so good is because we begin to externalize. One thing we do is we get it out of our own head. Great. And you say you use Microsoft to do. So some of us use applications. We use digital versions. So it gets our head to stop having to re-download our own lists. So it gets us out of that cycle that our brains can get caught up. Oh yeah, I have to do that. Oh yeah, I have to do. Oh yeah, I have to do that. Oh yeah, that alone, that little circuit that we keep spinning, really can wear us down, and it can make us exhausted. Getting it down onto a list externalizes it, so we don't have to keep re-remembering it. It's always someplace. So many of you already do this. Many of you already utilize this tool. I want to upgrade this tool, but here's what I want to do. I want to give you 90 seconds right now. Not a lot of time, just 90 seconds. If you have not made a to-do list for yourself today or for this week, I want you to take 90 seconds to write down as many to-dos as you can think of and go granular and go big. I have a to-do list that is to do the dishes. I have a to-do list that is to do the laundry. I have a to-do list that's to study this chapter for school. I have a to-do list of getting back to all these emails. So go large, go small, but take 90 seconds to do that. And if you already have a to-do list, take this 90 seconds to review it. Just get it in front of yourself, whether it is on your Microsoft screen or whether it's on a list in front of you. I'm going to set a timer right now. I love timers. By the way, we'll talk about timers too in the avoid distractions piece. I'm starting the timer now for 90 seconds. We're going. Go ahead and just get your to-do list down. And you feel free to share it in the chat bar, but you do not have to share it in the chat bar. So sometimes these to-dos are private, or sometimes they're actually sensitive information. Feel free to share if you want, but I want you to make sure that you have one in front of you. 90 seconds is already going. There's about 80 seconds left. And if you haven't made a to-do list today, now's your opportunity to begin. You chose to be here, so choose to spend this time doing this. About 45 seconds left. Are there other things that you forgot? Are there other things that you need to put on there? Are there things you don't want to put on there? Put it down anyways. Is there a to-do that's so big that you don't even know how to begin tackling it? Okay, go ahead and put that down on there. If I had a to-do that was, I want to learn the Italian language, it's massive. It's a huge to-do. It requires so many different pieces. It's a project that will take years, but I can still put that down and we'll break it apart later. Last 10 seconds, just get a couple more to-dos on there. And that brings us to about 90 seconds. Now, I know that wasn't a lot of time, but hopefully that was enough time to begin spinning your wheels on what it is you need to do. Getting that to-do list. And as we go through today, I want you to commit to just adding to it, because invariably something else is going to come into your mind in the next hour or so that we're together. And I just want you to write it down. So as it comes up, get it out of that cycle that in your mind that's going to keep re-downloading it and put it down. Yes, eventually this list might become very large. And in fact, most to-do lists are large. And here's the secret to these very large to-do lists. You're not going to do it all. You're not going to get to every single one. Back to that idea of a relationship and selection. We're going to select some things to do and some things to not do. And that is a very important distinction. When we look at a long to-do list and think that we have to get it all done, that's where we begin to hyperventilate. That's where we begin to get overloaded. We're not going to get it all done. And this is the magic of creating a story of what your life is going to be, what your day is going to look like. Great. So you have one to do here about you have to go to Vancouver to a conference. So this is really great. You have a big conference. There's probably a lot of to-dos there. You got to pack. You got to get to the airport. You have to prepare. You have to meet people. You have to send follow-ups, all those things. And really great. So code, review, debug, fetch invoices from email, calculate bank reconciliations, review accounting journal entries. Really great for sharing that. And now even in that one little list that you have here, code reviewing, debugging, fetch invoices from email, there is a hierarchy somewhere in here of things that are a little bit more important and things that if you did not get to it, maybe it wouldn't be great, but you probably would still survive the day and it would be all right if it waited an hour or two, or if it waited till the end of the day, or maybe even till tomorrow, or maybe it doesn't even belong on there. There's some hierarchy in there. And it's that hierarchy that we have two choices about. We can either choose to be intentional about that hierarchy, or we can let the winds of circumstance shape that hierarchy. Both have pros and cons. If we let the winds of circumstance shape what we're doing, someone asked me to do it, so I'm going to be moving over here. Someone told me I should do this. I think I'm going to start doing this. I feel like this. If we just go by the winds of circumstance, we can feel sometimes like playing that game. There's a game that we play at carnivals here, at least in the United States, called whack-a-mole, where these things keep popping up and you're just trying to hit them, and the game is to try to hit them as they pop up. It's a difficult game because you never know where things are going to pop up. It's not the way we want to be intentional about our lives. It's not a really good way to be strategic about your time management. So somewhere in that list, there's a hierarchy. So let's talk about how we can create that hierarchy. And the first thing we want to do for that hierarchy is to get clear about a goal, clear about a goal that we have. So here's the next thing I want you to do, 90 seconds. And this, I would, if you would be so kind to share it in the chat bar, I want you to create a goal statement for yourself, right? A goal statement that you have that you really want to accomplish. Today, I want to make sure that my main goal for today is to finish working on this presentation. If I can get that presentation prepared really well, I will have done a huge step forward in my day. What is your main goal for either today or in a larger sense, perhaps for the week? But I want you to create a goal statement, because if we can keep our goal statements in front of us, this is the first filter for the hierarchy of all of our to-dos. So let's take 90 seconds. It's only 90 seconds. It's not enough time to write a novel, but I want you to think of a goal statement right now. What is your goal for today or perhaps for tomorrow? Usually our goals are related to our values, the things that we care about. And if we can get clear about the things that we care about in our life, and we can be intentional about it by creating goals, to-dos begin shaping themselves into an order. So about 70 seconds left here. Create a goal statement. And if you want to share it in the chat bar, please do. What is your goal? What is something you want to accomplish? Great. I see them coming in. I appreciate that. About 15 seconds left. Try to create a goal. And if you want to share it in the chat bar, that'd be great. And that brings us to 90 seconds. So it's not a lot of time here, but again, I want us to add to this goal. By the end of our hour, if you have not come up with one, I'm hoping that you can begin working towards one. We're pretty good at creating to-do lists. It's pretty good to make a list and have things to check off and know all the things in front of us for the day. What we often leave out is a goal. The goal is going to be our North Star. It's like a mission statement. If you work for a company, it's very likely that on the masthead somewhere or somewhere buried in the website, there is a mission statement that says, here's what we stand for, here's what we're trying to achieve. Your goal is kind of like that. It allows you to say, does this line up with my goal? If so, it's going to make its way into my active to-do list. If not, can this wait, or can I deprioritize it because I want to be goal oriented? Really great. So Seacox, you have a goal here of send out 5 emails for next week events. So maybe your goal here, you can even sharpen that. It was really good. I'm glad you contributed there. That you can even sharpen that. I want to make sure that next week's event goes off without a hitch, or I want to make sure that next week's event is a huge success. This is going to allow you to say, okay, how many emails might I need to send out for that? And it's going to create your to-dos, which is make sure I answer all the emails, make sure I do the follow-ups, because my goal is that next week's event is a smash, that it's one of the best events we've had yet. That might be a goal that you have there. Great. And so we can also get cyclical here with my goal is to complete all my to-dos. I want to give you a secret here. You're not going to complete all your to-dos. You're just not. The same way with our houses. Think about where you live, whether you live in a small house or a really large house. It doesn't really matter. There's always something to do. There's the laundry, there's the dishes, there's the cleaning, sweeping the floor, there's scrubbing this, there's dusting this, right? You know, and we all know, you can look around at your own home right now, wherever you might be coming in from, or even if you're coming from your office, there's things that need to be done, right? And you decided at some point, you know what, I'm not going to dust the windowsills today because it doesn't fit into my main goal of the thing I need to accomplish, right? I'm going to dust the windowsills eventually, but that is a lower task. So completing all the to-dos, that's the thing that we get caught up with sometimes when it comes to time management, is that we want to finish everything. You're not going to finish everything. And if we can get comfortable with that and truly live with that, we're going to get into a better relationship with our to-dos and with our time management. We're going to complete the to-dos that actually fit into our goals. That's where we want to move towards. So I want to think about our time management and strategies in two different ways. We can approach things and be efficient, and we can approach things to be effective. Often when we think about time management, we think about exactly what was written here in the chat bar here is, I just want to complete everything, right? In this approach, it goes toward efficiency. How can I just get everything done as quickly as possible? This is the way, say, AI or computers might approach things. How do I be as efficient as possible, get as many things done in as short of a period of time as possible? This efficiency approach often leads us to do the things that are easiest and quickest to do because I want to be efficient, rather than the things that take some depth and some more intention. So if we only focus on efficiency, I want to do minimum wasted effort. I want to get as many things done as possible. So if you have a list of 25 to-dos, if I want to be efficient, I want to get 19 of those 25 things done, and I'm going to feel really good. But what if 10 of those 19 things are not actually go towards your goals? So I've done the windowsills, I've done the laundry, I've cleaned the dishes, I scrubbed the grout out of the tile, I swept the floor, I swept the driveway, I fed the dogs. Well, always feed your dogs. Never mind. That's not a really good one. But I've done all these small things. But actually, my goal today was to make sure that next week's event was a smash. That next week's event was actually the best event we've ever had. I've now accomplished all these things that do not go towards the goal. So here's where efficiency can sometimes become a trap. Yes, we'll talk. So there's a really good question about how to get into flow. We'll talk about that next week more in the avoid distractions, but I'll give you a couple tips here today too. So I will make sure to get that. So we have the efficiency and we have the effectiveness. I want you to think about how you can become more effective. This means putting that goal on top of that to-do list and saying, okay, which of the tasks that I currently have go toward that goal? What can I do to make this goal actually materialize today? How can I maybe accomplish the goal so I'm not focused on the whack-a-mole of all the tasks? So this means that we might have to think a little deeper about how we can become effective. This means actually being goal-oriented and not just doing things quickly and as fast as we can do. This is where we can become more goal-oriented. So this is going to lead us to another exercise that we're going to do here. I want you to take a look at your to-do list that you currently have in front of you. And I know it's been shared in the chat bar here. The code review, the debug, the fetch the invoices from the email, calculate bank reconciliation. So you can do. So I want you to take a look at all your to-do lists and ask yourself: am I efficient or am I effective at completing these items? And then actually next to each to-do to-do item, you can put an EF or an EV, meaning am I efficient or am I effective? EF for efficient, EV for effective. And what this means is, do I try to do this quickly as possible, or do I really try to make this goal-oriented and think deep about it? And I want you to, the second question I want to ask you to do, we'll do that in the next 90 seconds, is how can you become more effective at completing the items on your list? Meaning, I'm not going to do the things that are quickest and easiest to get out of the way first. I'm going to do the things that matter most to my goal. So let's start with the first one. 90 seconds. I want you to go through your to-do list that you have in front of you and just decide, when I approach this kind of task, do I try to be efficient, just get it done? Or do I try to do it right? And is it associated with a goal that I have? EV, EF. These are good ways to just sort of begin sorting out how you approach your tasks. 90 seconds, and we have about 70 left. About 45 seconds left on this first question. And if you've completed going down that list, we have about 25 seconds left here. In the chat, share. Are you mostly effective or are you mostly efficient? Did you have more efficient? Did you have more effective when it comes to all of your to-dos? Which one did you go towards? Really great. So do you have several lists for different goals? Yes, we'll get to that one in a minute. It's a really good question. And or are you? I'm not sure if it's a question or if you're telling me. Do you? Should you? Or you're telling me that you do? Great. This brings us to 90 seconds. In the chat, I'm curious to know: did you land more efficient or did you land more effective when it comes to doing your task? Do you usually approach things? How do I get done as quickly as possible, or how do I make sure that I'm doing the right things? It was a question. Do you have several lists for different goals? The answer is yes, of course. We can separate that really quickly right here with just saying I have a home life and a work life. Right? I have goals in my home life. I want to be a really great father to my kids if you have kids. I want to make sure that I'm a really good husband if you have a spouse. Or I want to make sure that in my personal life, I accomplish learning the Italian language, right? Perhaps that's a goal you have in a personal goal. Or you have a fitness goal, right? So you have some tasks and some to-dos that go along with those. I want to eat healthier as a goal. We set these personal goals sometimes at the beginning of the year. Sometimes they don't last, right? And then we have our work goals, right? I make sure I'm making sure that I'm building my client list. I want to make sure that I'm getting all my calls done. I want to make sure that I'm making sure that next week's event is a smash hit, right? So yes, of course we do have different goals. What we want to make sure that we're doing is limiting how many goals we have. I'll share you a little piece from that comes from Buffett. It's how to choose what to do with your life. This is a really great piece. Perhaps you've heard it before. But when you're thinking about what to do with your life, all the things you could potentially do, is to really spend some time, come up with 25 things that you know you want to accomplish. 25 things. So spend a lot of time thinking about those 25 things. When you come up with those 25, take a look at that whole list of 25. And then cut it down even more. Say, okay, out of these 25, what are the top 5 things that I want to get out of life? What are the top 5 things that if I had to rank them out of these 25, what are the top 5? And then once you've really thought about that for a few days or for a few weeks, you've really given it some true deep consideration, to take a look at the remaining 20 things and to do your best to never do any of those 20 things. It's really interesting. So that gives you 5 things to focus on, which is crazy. You're like, wait a minute, I really like number 9. That was really great. How would I get rid of it? But that would be a recipe for making sure that your focus is always on a limited amount. So this goes back to the question of, do you have different goals for different lists for different goals? The answer is yes, because we do have different goals. If we end up with too many goals, we end up scattering ourselves. So different times in our life, we can have different levels of focus, but I would say yes, that if we have a goal in our personal life, a goal with a certain domain in our work life, so a goal with a certain domain in our private life, so we can separate it out into a few different goals that we might have. If we end up with too many of those, we end up scattering ourselves a little too much. So I would say limit that focus just a little bit. So great. So I'm seeing here. We have efficient. We have some people being effective, some people being efficient. That's what you came out dominant as. Consider that if you've ended up with more efficiency, I approach things through efficiency more often, that you consider how you can become more effective. How can you decide to not do things as quickly as possible, but to do things as intentionally as possible, so things are related to the goal. So how might you be more effective in completing the items on your list? How might you give more thought to it, so you're not just doing things that are the quickest to do or the easiest to do, but the things that are actually going to require you to think deeper? And I want to give you a tool to take a look at this. And this is called the Pareto Principle. You may have heard of this. So this comes from Joseph Juran. He was a management consultant who coined this term, the Pareto Principle, after the Italian economist whose name was Vilfredo Pareto. And in 1895, what he observed was that 80% of the land in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. It was just an observation. 80% of the land owned by 20% of the people. And this observation from Pareto has become famous because it's been shown to apply to a lot of natural phenomenon situations. One of the most familiar one, this may be one you've heard of before, is that 80% of your profits come from 20% of your clients. So just consider that 80% of profits can come from 20% of clients. 80% of your effort, 80% of the achievement of your goal might only come from 20% of your to-do list. There's another observation here in the chat bar, starting with SMART goals. SMART goals are an efficient way to plan and organize your work. It's a really great way to move toward effectiveness as well. And if you're unfamiliar with what a SMART goal is, it means making sure that your goal statement is specific, that it's actually specific. It's not general. Like I want to kind of get better at this, but it's specific, that it's actually measurable. That's the M. S for specific, M for measurable. A means it's actionable, something you can take an action on. R is for realistic, that you can actually realistically do it. I'm not a runner, but if I set a goal to finish a marathon by next week, it's not a realistic goal. I could set a goal to run a 5K by the end of the month, or run 5 miles by the end of the month. And I can set a goal to run a marathon a few years from now, perhaps. That's a realistic goal. But so making sure that it's actually realistic. And then the T in SMART stands for time bound, meaning that there is actually a timeliness to it, so that there's a deadline, or sometimes better than a deadline, I like thinking of a timeline. So we have, by the end of the month, I want to do this, which means that by next week, I'm looking at this, which means by tomorrow, I want it to look like this. So there's a time route to get there. So making sure that our goals have all those areas. But back to the Pareto Principle. I want you to think about everything on your to-do list. If you have 10 things on your to-do list, consider that there's maybe only 2 things on there that will contribute toward 80% of your efforts. Here's where we want to put our focus. Here's another tool to begin a filtration system. So we're not trying to do, as was said in the chat bar, everything on the to-do list. I'm going to be selective. I'm going to make a choice about the story of my day, the story of my career and my life. The story is I'm going to focus on the things that are going to bring me most of the way. Now, 80% is not 100%. 80% is still, if you're taking an exam in school, it's a B- on the exam. But what we want to do is we want to focus on the 2 things of 10 in this example that are going to, if we just do those 2 things alone, we're already going to get a B- on our day, on our life. If we focus there first, it's a better use of our time, rather than to focus on 8 things that only get us 20% of the way there. Right? This is the thing of focusing on cleaning the windowsills and doing the laundry when your main goal is to make sure that next week's event goes really well. Yes, those are things on your to-do list, but they're not moving you toward your goal, which is to make sure that next week's event is really, really great. So in fact, you get an F on your day, a fail on your day, rather than the B- that you would deserve if you focused on the emails. Right, so the emails was one part of that to-do list. The windowsills and the laundry were other parts. So we want to focus on what the main 20% is of our list. So take a look at your list. This is going to lead us to our next exercise here. I want you to take a look at the list that you have in front of you. And I want you to decide, are there 1 or 2 things on this list, or 20% of this list, that if you only did those 2 things, you would at least get 80% of the way toward your goal? So I'm going to give you 90 seconds to decide what those are, what that looks like, and how this might apply to your situation. And I'm going to want to hear from you in the chat bar. So 90 seconds is starting now. If you only did 2 items on your to-do list, or only 20% of that to-do list, what would those be? And again, these are the things that will have the greatest impact toward your goal. This is making us efficient. This is making us effective and goal-oriented in choosing what to do with our time. About a minute left. And share what you find in the chat. About 45 seconds left. And I will get to that question about flow on our next topic. What are the 2 items, or what is the 20% of your to-do list, which if you only did that 20% or only did those 2 things, you would make a significant dent in getting toward that? One is a personal goal and one is a work goal. So you have one personal goal, one work goal. For now, pick one of those goals and all the items underneath that. See if you can pick 2 things under that personal goal or 2 things under that work goal. And what are those 2 things that if you were to only do those 2 things, they would give the largest impact, or 20%, which would make the largest impact? Great. So you found a couple there. It sounds like that might improve a lot of other things. I think it's what I'm getting from your feedback here. Any other feedback in the chat bar around this Pareto principle? Because we just hit a little over 90 seconds on that. Any other thoughts here on this Pareto principle? Making sure that we're making sure that we're focusing. And this Pareto principle allows us to apply sort of a mathematical approach to our to-do list, knowing well that if I have 10 things to do, I might not get to all 10 of those things. But what I can do is focus on the ones that are going to make the highest impact toward my goal, not the ones that I can do the quickest, but the ones that will make the highest impact. We end up feeling better about our day. Also, stress is taken away. And also, we get to be intentional. So any other thoughts about this? Go ahead and drop them in the chat. I'll give about 15 seconds for any of those to arrive. And then I want to move on to our energy levels, and that'll close out our time together. All right. Let it come in if it comes up any other further questions on this. So we now have considered our efficiency and effectiveness. We've also considered our time, where it goes, the Pareto principle, and making sure that we're focusing on high impact to-dos rather than ones that we can do quickly. Right, that we're focused. This gets us goal oriented. So we're continuing to develop our time awareness, and the next place I want to look for is our own energy peaks and valleys. So we all have these energy cycles that we go through. We're probably in the middle of one of them right now. This is where we get a burst of energy, a burst of wind, right? Where we're feeling really good. And then we go through a cycle where we start feeling, okay, I'm starting to come down a little bit. And then we crash, and then we're just feeling a little low. And then we get what we sometimes call a second wind. I'm feeling good again. I'm feeling really good. I got high energy, and now I'm feeling not so great. And now I'm feeling crashed again. We all have these cycles, and we all have them at different times. Most of us have to start work in the morning, and we still have to, and we leave work at it's usually in the late afternoon sometime or early evening. Most of us have that schedule, although there are a lot of people, and I've had them before too, where you start work at night and you end in the morning. So we all have different times when we have to be awake and we have to feel good. But that doesn't mean that we all operate at the same levels. So I want to ask just a series of questions here. And I just want to see when we can take advantage of when we have peak energy, and when we can maybe use tasks to get through low energy. We'll call them peaks in our day and valleys in our day. So times when we're feeling tons of energy, tons of wind in our sails. And then there's times when we're feeling a little low and a little sluggish. So here's my question. And I want us to all put our attention toward the chat bar here for this one, okay? So I just want to see who has their best high energy. This is we'll call this a peak energy between 6 a.m. in the morning and 9 a.m. Does anybody here have that as their highest level of energy in the day? 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Who has that? Anyone want to say that's me, or definitely not me? 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Who falls high energy 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.? Not a lot of morning people here yet, right? Okay, no worries. Let's move to the next one. 9 a.m. to noon. So 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Who has high energy there? So that's Wahid, you either are I'm not sure which one you were, whether you were the 9 to noon or the 6 to 9, but now I'll ask about the 9 a.m. to noon. Who feels best then? That's usually me. Right around 10 a.m., I'm going. This is where I am online. I'm good. I have higher energies here. That's you too, Imad. Great. My next question. What about 12 p.m.? This is noon to about 3 p.m. Who has high energy in this area? This is sometimes after lunch. So a lot of people find this is where you're most sluggish, perhaps, but some people have really high energy there. Nope. By 1 p.m., I feel great. And generally, this is my highest energy. So 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Who has high energy there? Would this describe you? So great. We have a couple people saying that's you. That's you. Great. Next question. 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So this is the later part of the day. Sometimes some of us who are early people will get a second wind around now. So right around 4 p.m., I'm feeling great. Some of us are crashing hard here. Nope, it's 3 p.m. It's the end of the day. I am low energy. Right? Who here has high energy 3 p.m. to 9 p.m.? Sorry, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So we don't have a lot of people with the 3 to 6. That's okay. The last question. 6 p.m. onward. So let's just call you a night owl. I know 8 p.m. is not a night owl yet, but where are the people who have high energy at night? Where are you? Would this describe you? Some of us have low energy at night. Some of us say, no, actually, I do my best work. I have high energy in the evening. Does this describe you? So you'll see we have a lot of different variances here. We have some people who are really great at noon, some people who are really, really good at 9. And then Wahid says, okay, yes, me, I'm great at in the evening as well. And you can do the same exercise with deciding when is your lowest energy. Is my lowest energy early in the morning, 6 a.m., you wake me up, I'm not good. Or no, noon is the time when I'm the most sluggish. I want you to decide the time of day that you have high energy and the time of day you have low energy, because I want you to respect it. This is a part of your natural energy levels. And all of your tasks have a certain energy level score to it. Does this task take high energy? Does this task take low energy? As an example, replying to low impact emails that just need a little bit of a response here and there, right? That's probably a low energy task. I don't need to put a lot of thought into it. If there is a small mistake, it's probably not going to be the end of the world. So when I have low energy in my day, I want to see if I can do those tasks. I don't want to use the high energy I have, the very limited amount of high energy I'm going to have in my day, just a few hours here and there. I don't want to spend my high energy doing low energy tasks. I also might have high energy tasks that are on my to-do list. They might look like preparing for a presentation. I want my focus there. A meeting with a client, that is a high energy task. I don't want to try doing that preparation or that meeting at a time when I know I'm going to have my low energy. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do this next exercise. And there's 3 different parts to it. Let's just focus on the first part here for just about 60 seconds. I want you to go through your to-do list and identify the tasks that have identify, are they a peak task or are they a valley task? So back to, I need to decode, I need to debug, I need to answer these emails, I need to go through the invoices, all of those things on your list. Decide, do I need a lot of good energy to do this? Or is this something that can take some low energy? So I want you to focus on those 2 things for the first 60 seconds. Actually, let's do all 3, and let's do all 3 in 90. So I want you to go through your list, decide, is this a peak task? Is this a valley task? And then identify, do I have a say in when this gets done? Sometimes we can choose when to do something. Sometimes we don't have a choice in the matter, right? So a low impact emails, responding to low impact emails, I probably have some choice over when I do that. I can do that right now, or I can do that in an hour or 2, right? Preparing for a presentation. Maybe I have some leeway of when I decide to prepare. Will I prepare in the morning? Will I prepare in the evening? A client meeting. Maybe I don't have a lot of latitude to decide when that is. I can only do it when the client's available. So sometimes we can change when we do it. Sometimes we cannot. So I want you to go through your list. Is this a peak task? Is it a valley task? Put a little P or a V next to your to-do. And then if you can change when it is, put a little circle next to it as well, perhaps. Because then if you can change it, you should make sure that you are doing it at a time that matches the energy level. And if you can't, we'll talk about that next. I'm going to give you 60 seconds to do all this, and I want to know what you come up with. And then I'll answer the question about flow right after that. 60 seconds. Go through your to-do list. Is this a peak task? A valley task? Do I have any autonomy over when it gets done? About 20 seconds left here. And that brings us to about a minute here, so 60 seconds. So now you have a to-do list that has a lot more data in it rather than just a bullet point of do this, do this, do this, do this. We're deciding, do I approach this with efficiency, meaning I'm trying to do it as quickly as possible, or do I approach this with effectiveness, meaning I'm going to decide when, I'm going to put some more effort into it. We're also deciding which of these tasks actually can lead toward the most impact toward my goal. So we're deciding, we're sort of creating a hierarchy as well. We're also now adding, what kind of energy does this task require? Is it a valley task? Is it a peak task? And so now that you've also mapped out your own energy levels that you have throughout your day, can you decide to make sure that we're doing peak tasks at a time when we have high energy, or valley tasks when we're doing low energy? We don't want to misuse that. Sometimes we're doing those valley tasks at a time when we have a ton of energy, and we're really misusing our own energy levels, which also are a limited resource. Make sure that we're matching our day, our energy levels in our day to match our tasks. In the morning, you have peak tasks like gym and courses. Afternoon, you have off-peak tasks. Really good. I'm really glad that you noticed that. This is the reason why a lot of people go to the gym first thing in the morning, right? Some people have high energy and they're just ready to go to the gym. Sometimes people say, I have low energy, but after I go to the gym, it gives me high energy, which I need for right after I get out of the gym. It helps me prepare, which leads me to my next point, which is if you can't actually control your schedule based off of your energy levels, meaning most of my day is planned out, and whether I like it or not, whether I have low energy or high energy, I have to complete a high energy task at a time when I'm generally low energy. And I've worked with clients before who have this very issue where they say, well, my high energy doesn't happen until noon. And most of the biggest things I have to do are always scheduled for 8 a.m. to noon. What do I do? Here's where you can begin looking for support. Now you at least know I have low energy and this requires high energy. We're beginning to get a little clearer about what our task list is telling us, what our to-dos are telling us. What do I need to do to support myself, to give myself higher energy? Do I need to sleep better? Sleep is a part of time management. What if I went to the gym beforehand? Would that give me more energy? What if I took more breaks during this time to give myself little times to cycle up my energy? What if I gave myself a different kind of diet of intake, the kinds of food I'm eating, right? Is there something I can eat to give me a little bit more energy? Some people utilize caffeine to sort of give themselves some more energy. Some people do not like doing that and it's not good for them. I have no opinion on that for yourself. That's for you to decide. But what can you do to support yourself when you have low energy and you need to perform at high energy? So now you at least know you need to build in that support system so that you can rise to that occasion that you cannot change. If you can change it, you owe it to yourself to do exactly that, to make sure that we're changing it. So making sure that we can match our tasks to our energy levels is another great way to go toward intentionally working toward our goals and using our natural energies throughout the day. Now, in our last 5 minutes together or so, I want to answer this question about flow. The question came up, how do you get into the flow state? And this is a primer before what we're going to do next week on Wednesday, which is to talk about how we can avoid distractions. So for those of you who may be unfamiliar with the idea of flow, this is a term that was coined by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi. Flow is a state that we find ourselves in where everything else goes away. We end up spending less energy to get higher levels of performance. When we enter a state of flow, it feels like time goes by in a second, right? It's when you work at something, times you don't even know what time it is. You look up and suddenly it's been 2 hours, 3 hours, and you didn't even realize it passed because you were so engrossed in something. It's a really wonderful state to get into. It's hard to achieve. This is going to be all about shutting out distractions. Here's the thing about getting into flow. I forget who asked the question. And if anyone has any additional questions, feel free to put them in the chat bar as we wind up. Is that you need an on-ramp to get into that flow state. And in order for that on-ramp to be effective, you really do need to shut out your distractions. This means if you have a phone ringing, if you have messages coming in, if you have distractions that are pulling you away, you're going to be ineffective about using that on-ramp. There's a lot of different science out there that says how long we need, and everyone's going to vary. But I would say if you could give yourself a solid 10 to 15 minutes of uninterrupted time to get into the flow state, that's a pretty good on-ramp, which means that you need 10 to 15 minutes of having no distractions around you, where the focus is only on one thing. This means close down your computer, put your phone not just away, but in the next room. I've worked with a client before who cannot actually start their work on their day until they go downstairs, they put their phone into the glove box of their car, shut their glove box, lock their car, and go back upstairs to work. That's the only way they can get the distractions away, because if the distraction is away from you, here's where you can begin to get into flow. Some people utilize headphones and music. Not everyone loves this, but sometimes this is really helpful for just silencing out everything else around you except for what is right in front of you. And that's how we can enter more flow state. And as you do that, the distractions go away. You heighten your ability to focus on just one thing. The great part about that is it's very much the metaphor I often use. It's like a car. The difference between driving a car in the city versus driving a car on an open field on a country road. Your car takes more wear and tear in the city. Stopping and starting, going from first gear to second gear to third gear to second gear. The transmission is taking a beating. The tires are taking a beating. The brakes are taking a beating. It's more wear and tear on a car when it has to stop and start and stop and start in city traffic. When you move your car out to the highway and you can get going on an open road, there's less wear and tear in the car. You get better gas mileage. You tend to get better gas mileage too. That's the difference in flow. When we are constantly having to stop and start and distract ourselves and something else is coming in, here's where we are driving in the city, more wear and tear on our engine, which is our mind and our brain and our own biology. If we can spend more time driving on a country road, which means focusing on only a couple things at one time, putting out distractions, we end up with better gas mileage. We end up with less wear and tear. So shutting out distractions would be the first thing I would say to get into that flow state. I hope that was a useful answer to whoever asked that question. And I forgot who it was, so please forgive me. So we only have about 5 minutes left, and I want to hand it back to Saskia, because I believe Saskia has a couple more things to mention here as we're wrapping up our time. But if there's any other questions, please go ahead and drop it into the chat. I want to thank you for being with me here today. I really do appreciate that, and I hope this was a useful primer to get you going. If you want to join us for any of our longer sessions, they're really great because there's a lot more to go over here. We can talk about sunk cost fallacies. We can talk about, we have something called the REP program for time management. It's a whole second half of this course. And also in our full courses, we get to dive just deeper. I get to hear from you more on a one-on-one, and we get to go deeper into the issues that you might be having and strategies that can work for you. So I really do hope to see you over there on those. So I want to say thank you for being with me here today. If you have any other questions or comments, please drop them in the chat and I can see them. I can respond to them. And I'm not sure if Saskia, if you want to go ahead and take the baton back here too, that'd be great. But I want to say thank you for being with me here today. And I hope to see you at the next one.
Yeah, thank you, Christian. That was great. I just wanted to kind of go over some of the other events that we have coming up this month. So next week, Christian will be leading an Ask the Expert session, which is a shorter session, about 30 minutes long. That's at 8 a.m. Pacific time next Wednesday. We'll be going over the Avoid Distractions module of our time management classes. And then the 2 Fridays from now, an intro to Smart Sheets. And then the week after that, an Ask the Expert productivity using Outlook. So first 2 sessions are really about frameworks and then moving into some different applications for productivity. Again, if you want to join offsite, you can use this QR code. We get live instructor help, exclusive Ask the Expert sessions, badges of certification, and all that. And then I can drop links for the class, the full-length class that we took today in there as well. But I wanted to thank everyone for joining. Thank you, Christian. And I hope everyone has a great rest of their day and a great weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Hope to see you in the future, and really good luck on managing your day. Hope you have a couple more strategies to employ. Thank you. I appreciate you too, Natalie, for being here. Thank you so much. Thank you, Wahid. I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your days, everyone, and thank you so much for being here.